Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to discuss a couple of TV shows that I just finished watching in its entirety. Obviously by the title you know what they are. They're The Sopranos and Breaking Bad. And I thought I would talk about both of them. I know a common thing is people will sit there and say one is the best TV show of all time, and another group of people will say, no, this one's the best of all time. So I watched both, and I have my opinions of both, and I just thought I would talk a little bit about them because I've brought them up many times. If you haven't seen either show and you don't want to be spoiled, I would say don't watch this video. However, if you've seen both shows and you are just curious on my take on both, stick around. So first of all, I wanted to say that I watched The Sopranos first, and I went through all 6 seasons, although the last season is broken up into 6A and 6B, and it's a longer season. And Breaking Bad is 5 seasons, and it has the last season is a longer season. It has 3 more episodes than the other seasons. And some of the episodes are a little longer on that last season. With The Sopranos, I really enjoy it. I think there's a realism that is involved there. It's just a great show, great characters. I will say with The Sopranos, there are a couple of flaws in this show that just kind of are more like, vehicles of the show. In season 5, we have a bunch of guys getting out of jail, and this is how David Chase introduces characters to the show who otherwise haven't been on the show. But in doing so, they've also introduced other characters because we get more involved in the Lupertazzi family of New York. And it just seems ridiculous that Phil Leotardo, who's played by Frank Vincent, and beautifully I might say, comes out of jail and all of a sudden he's like the number one attack dog. I mean, they could have just had him not being shown in the show and introduced him around then when Johnny Sack was coming up and taking over for Carmine Sr. I just thought that was a little weak. There's also a little bit of weakness in Tony's handling of his own crew. Like Benny with Artie Bucco in the restaurant, and that's like a complete disrespect to Tony. And then Paulie with Paulie Jr., or Paulie with Little Paulie, going in and robbing Christopher Moltisante's father-in-law. It just seemed like there was a lot of nonsense going on, and basically it just pours from poor management by Tony. And I just thought that was like a little, maybe it is realistic. I didn't really find it too realistic. I just think that you don't mess with the boss. But that being said, my other flaw I have with The Sopranos is, Tony with Silvio owns the Bada Bing. They own Satrials. They basically have their hand in Angie Bompencero's auto body shop. It seems like they have so many different businesses that they're like, reason for not going legitimate is just laziness. I mean, you could really bring in a manager instead of having Silvio run it. Have a real manager come in and turn the Bada Bing into a $300,000 a week business. But instead, they're schlepping around for little money. And the part with Artie Bucco borrowing $50,000 and Tony lending it to him, thinking he's going to get the money back in 10 days, lending $50,000 to make $1,500, it just seems petty. And anyways, not to say anything, I think this show is the greatest show of all time. I do think The Sopranos is the best show on just many levels. Not taking away from Breaking Bad, but I will discuss Breaking Bad a little bit. Breaking Bad was meant for regular TV, and in that, the problem I find is I'm getting a lot of setups for commercials. Like, I can feel the cliffhanger coming for the commercial every time. And also, there's a lot of, like, we're going to make you think, including the first episode when he's standing there and he thinks he's going to be arrested by the police. I mean, you're watching the first episode and he's the main character. I doubt it's the police, and of course it's a fire truck. And nobody's fooled, but they try this on you over and over again. There's a lot of shenanigans going on with Walt's wife, Skylar, and her sister, Marie, that is very sitcomish and childish TV. And even Hank, to a point, the relationship that Hank, in the beginning, has with the guys in the DEA, it's very silly and non-professional. It gets to a more professional level as we get to seasons 4 and 5, but it took a long time to get there for my taste because it's kind of goofy. Breaking Bad for me can't be the best show of all time, merely for Jesse Pinkman. I can't stand the character. He's unlikable, and the whole time hearing him going, Mr. White, Mr. White, it's like, I just want to kill him myself. And I find it, when I find, like, obviously the characters in every show evolve. Everyone evolves, and you take that journey with them to evolve. In Breaking Bad, there's some stuff for evolution, and then there's just character flaws in the writing. Gus, for instance, seems to be one of the most cautious guys. He's running a business right underneath everybody's noses. He's the biggest distributor. He tells Walt he doesn't want to get involved because he doesn't deal with junkies, and Jesse comes with Walt, and anyways. And then he decides to do it. And in doing so, they're following Jesse, and Jesse's partying at his house. At one point, wouldn't you send somebody in to just give him an OD and kill him? And that way you would have Walt to yourself. Walt would never think it was you because he's seen Jesse OD before. It wouldn't be out of the realm of how it went down. And then Gus would have a safe business to continue. However, instead, he threatens Walter and tries to befriend Jesse. Well, he's already said that he doesn't trust junkies. And now Jonathan Banks' character, Mike gets involved, and now Mike is all of a sudden friendly and protective of Jesse. But Jesse's an imbecile, and he's a junkie, and his character's so unlikable. It just seems the two guys who are supposed to be the most cautious, everything this, make the dumbest moves of all on this show, and continually make mistakes. Walter, who makes the show, makes the audience as well, completely Kafka-esque. And it's funny, Jesse mentions in the show that it's Kafka-esque. It is. We are totally tortured by watching these poor decisions and not being able to say anything. And this being said, the show is absolutely enjoyable. And it's a great show to watch. And I recommend it to everybody to watch because it's a great show. I'm merely just pointing out why I wouldn't call it the greatest show of all time. Of course, I like Bryan Cranston as Tim Whatley on Seinfeld. But seriously, no, it's a great, great show. There's just a lot of what I would consider some key mistakes. And part of it is because it's a TV show and they're placating to coming up to commercials to create those cliffhangers. But overall, I think both of these shows are two of the best shows that have been on TV in a very long time. Of course, for sitcoms, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. If you notice my shirt, you would see I'm also a big Nathan For You fan on Comedy Central. That's a great show. I am now involved in watching the show Sherlock, which I'm not having a great time watching. My brother highly recommended it. It's a show from the BBC, and it's okay. But after this, I don't know if I'm going to be watching TV much. I'm getting burnt out. But anyways, just a last recap. Sopranos are absolutely brilliant. Throughout the episodes, every season gets better and better. I will say that there are some episodes where you have to go through the dream sequence, and then there's a lot of Jennifer Melfi, and I almost say, my brother says you can fast forward through all of them. I don't think you can. I don't think you should. So there are some things on the show that will annoy you. For me, the worst part about The Sopranos is the kids. I really don't care about Meadow. I don't care about AJ. Their stories come into some play, but either way, it feels like it's wasting time. On Breaking Bad, the same thing can happen. There's an episode called The Fly where they just chase down a fly the whole episode. It's just like they didn't have any ideas. They wanted to keep the story going. They needed to buy time, and the episode bored the hell out of me. There's a lot of time wasting on Breaking Bad, too. I mean, if I could edit that show down, I could probably make it about 4 seasons. I could cut a whole season out. And by just cutting out scenes I don't need, there's a lot of when they're in the RV and the thing breaks down and now we just got to wait and we're waiting with them. I'm just like, really, guys? This is TV? That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. The story was like just slow moving at that point. There were some slow parts. Now, I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet, but I hear it's even slower. But anyways, the high points of The Sopranos, I will say, is you have to see the Pine Barrens episode, the Whitecaps episode, and what's the one about parking? Whatever the parking one is, that's a great one too in season 5. Other than that, Breaking Bad, I would recommend just watching the show. It's enjoyable. It's a little easier to watch than The Sopranos because you have about 45 to 47 minute shows. You can burn through it faster. Because I wanted to watch it and give it the fair shake, I didn't fast forward anything, but there were so many times when I was like stopping myself from fast forwarding. Like when they're just waiting in the desert. There's just a lot of that drag stuff. But either way, I will say I'm willing to hear anyone's comments on which show they like better, if there's another show. But, I mean, I can't fault you if you say that if you like Breaking Bad better than The Sopranos, I'm okay with it. I'm sure I would disagree, but, you know, that's why there's horse racing. If everyone picked the same horse, there's no way Attaboy Binky's going to be running in the 5th race. All right. I want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel, and very good.